John Harbaugh had his eyes set on the Big Apple. Everyone thought it would be Mike Tomlin, but where does this leave the former leader of the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Dayball and McDaniel. People thought they'd be head coaches again, but not so fast. Maybe they're smarter, taking the OC route and looking to build up on their stock.
The latest recap roundup of the NFL head coaching carousel, although it got a little more delayed than we're normally used to.
Super Bowl, Super Bowl. Usually it's all hype about the game and, everyone's getting excited and things like that. But the coaching carousel is just kind of taking center stage, and it's not your normal carousel this year.
We, we've still got a little ways before media week. I don't like to get excited for the Super Bowl until media week.
It's time. No, it's not. It's time. It's time. It's time. Sooner that happens, and the sooner the draft, free agency. No, I got to get this game over with. It's time.
You're looking forward to a smooth off season. One show a
No,
month.
no. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, we don't do things like that down here. But hey, whatever. I'm all about the opportunities and the fun.
Well, there's New York City often is a source of fun, and the Giants kind of stole a little bit of bait out of Mike Tomlin's cannon because everyone thought, okay, the exit from Pittsburgh is all but decided, and he's going to roll his way into the Big Apple. But sure enough, the Ravens surprise everyone except you. Let go John Harbaugh, and he winds up being the new head coach of the Giants. Was this the right move? I mean, the Giants aren't exactly a full rebuild, but they're also not exactly a contender right at the moment.
Okay, well, before we start this, I want to make sure people knew I wasn't looking for people to lose their jobs. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm the coach. I'm the coach killer, and if I tell you you should lose your job, you lose your job. I'm sorry, but no, no, I think it was a good move. It's kind of a rebuild. Let's be honest. Yes, your quarterback hopefully is set. He's got some things to work on, like he's got to stay out of the concussion protocol. That can't continue. You hope your running back comes back healthy. There are a lot of parts. Defensively, this team has parts, and this defense is solid. Offensively, though, it's a rebuild on offense. But no, I think it's a smart move. I think Harbaugh was tired, honestly, of the Lamar Jackson circus. Let's be honest, and I think he just wants to go somewhere and just coach. And this is the perfect opportunity. A young quarterback who isn't an MVP. He's got to earn his way, and he can mold this team to what he wants. So no, I think it's a good move.
The running back also has concussion protocol issues. Well, I guess not technically, but he certainly knocks on the door enough to risk it.
Yeah, there's a point when you're ramming your head into walls and such. Scattaboo love you and all, but you got to calm that down. But no, there's talent on this team, and Harbaugh's a good coach. I just think and I've always said this: when teams with all the talent that the Ravens had start to stall out year after year, sometimes you need a new voice. Sometimes it's a new voice needs to take over the lead, and I think with Baltimore it was time. So he comes to New York. He can reset the culture, and if he plays his cards smart, this team very well could be a wild card team.
And arguably, since happened so early in the season, we forget about Malik Neighbors. So that's really an injury risk at all three major positions on the offense.
Yeah, exactly. So you're sitting there saying the talent is there, but will the talent be healthy and be there, 17 weeks in the season? So it'll be interesting how these guys all bounce back, but the potential there is great.
Yeah. How does this kind of, especially with how the season went in Philadelphia, Washington kind of falling back off of the previous year's success and the Cowboys being the Cowboys, where does John Harbaugh's leadership in turning this franchise around fit into an outlook for next year?
This team, like I said, this team could be a wild card team if they play it smart in the draft. Play it smart offensively in free agency. This team, could be an 8 to 10 win team. their defense was good. They didn't have a horrible defense. It was just the offense that just sputtered. Neighbors gets hurt. Then at that point, who really is your number one, receiver? You've got some guys, but they would be twos at best on some teams. Your running back goes out, and those guys played with heart. I give the Giants credit, but at the end of the day, that they do need some pieces, more explosive pieces on offense. And if they can get that, or something where Jackson Dart doesn't have to try, to kill himself to get a first down, this team, like I said, 8 to 10 wins is possible.
Yeah. And where does this leave the aftermath of Mike Tomlin? Because were few jobs available. There were a lot of jobs available this offseason. There were a few that are win now. I have to assume that Mike Tomlin doesn't want anything to do with the rebuilding process. So this was one of the few positions with a lot of top line talent to potentially be a win now. So where does this kind of leave him? I guess he's just going to stay on the sideline for a year.
You know what? I think he wanted. I think he wanted to take a year off. Let's be honest. It was the Steelers. It wasn't like he was leaving, Cleveland or something. And he was like, "I'm just done with it. It's a hot mess. I'm done. I don't care." It's a prestigious job. It really is. And he probably said, "You know what? Let me just take a seat back. Let me see what the landscape of the NFL looks like in a year. He can have any job he wants." So he may sit there and say, okay, well, and let's be honest, he may sit there and say, oh, Tampa doesn't pan out. Todd's gone. I've got ties there.
Yeah.
He may, if Atlanta can't get it right with Stefanski, he may roll up into there. There are a lot of places that there are jobs on the hot seat. It may not be public, but everybody knows, okay, these coaches could be next. So he could step in and do what he wants.
There were a lot of Packers fans screaming for Matt LaFleur's head. So you would have to assume that his seat's a little warm too. The Packers could also be an open spot. And like the Steelers, there's a very prestigious head coaching position as well.
Exactly. Let's say Dallas doesn't get it together. There are spots. So I think Tomlin is playing it smart. He's going to sit there. Who knows if he'll end up on Fox or CBS? He'll do his thing for a year, and then as the season goes on, he'll start to sit there and say, interesting. Okay. And who knows? He may bounce before the season's over. If they may can a coach and he just sits there and says, let the intern take over, and here I am beginning of the offseason.
Yeah. CBS does have an empty seat to fill after Matt Ryan went home.
Yeah, we'll see how this plays out, because the people in Atlanta love Stefanski.
Yeah. Now, one of the jobs that was open that was very much win now, and where I kind of expected to be a potential landing spot for Mike Tomlin, was Bills Mafia. And there was a bit of a surprise that they let go Sean McDermott, another one that you subtly called. And instead of reaching out and bringing in someone new or someone established, they promote Joe Brady. Now, Joe Brady has had quite a good rapport with Josh Allen after the Ken Dorsey debacle. But at the same time, if you fire Sean McDermott, promoting Joe Brady kind of continues the same culture, the same coaching environment, hierarchy, that sort of thing. So what was the point in firing Sean McDermott?
I don't know if Buffalo knew what they were doing. Like, let's be honest. You promoted your GM, and there was that whole fiasco about Ken Coleman, about who wanted to draft him, who didn't want to draft him. I felt bad for the kid, because it's almost like nobody wanted him. No one wanted to speak up and say, "Hey, I wanted him." It was like, "No, I didn't want him." "No, you wanted him." So what this comes down to is, okay, now mind you, I think McDermott should have had one more year. I would have given him one more year. But you could kind of see the writing on the wall. It just had this weird feel to it. So he gets fired, and the coaching search, it didn't seem like Buffalo wanted to sell themselves. It was like, yeah, we got a job. Anybody want it? And that was it.
Yeah.
There was nothing, and then next thing you know, we hear, okay, well, Joe Brady's the guy. All right, so you bring Joe Brady in, like you said, kind of the same culture. Buffalo is built to win now. Josh is officially on the clock. And it's weird to say that, but he's 30 years old, right? Josh is 30. His body, he can't go another couple of years doing what he does.
Probably about 40.
Yeah, he's a 30-year-old in like a 38-year-old body. That's what's going to start to happen. So they're going to have to figure out what they want this team to be offensively. Defensively, if they can get the guys back healthy, the defense still should be somewhat solid. But this team is on the clock. This team is really on the clock. And if they can't make leaps and bounds and at least get to a conference championship next year, I'm sorry, then maybe Joe Brady wasn't your guy.
To your point on Josh's health, it came out recently that he was playing with a broken foot, that he just had a procedure to fix. So it's your point on the mileage on Josh's body is even more exemplified knowing that.
But then at that point you sit there and say, okay, Joe Brady, you were handling the offense. Your quarterback's foot is broken. What are we doing here? Run the ball a little more. Like I don't know. Buffalo's interesting. It just seems like they're better than the Steelers in the sense that they're not like 9-8 and like yay. They get those 11-12 wins and then they just, I don't know, peter out. But now you've got a new stadium. Like this is it. Like now it's time. Like if you guys can't at least get to a conference championship in the next 2 or 3 years, Brady will be gone. And then who's going to come in to coach? And at that point, Josh is 33. Your other pieces have either left, moved on. So Buffalo's at a tough spot. And with New England all of a sudden returning to its glory, Buffalo had its window, wasn't able to handle it, and now they're stuck.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel and Drake May are very likable, and I find this morally disturbing because all I want to do is hate them.
Morally disturbing. I want to hate you so much, but I love you. It's like it sounds like a '90s girl pop song. I want to hate you, but I love you. Wow, man, you got some emotion.
Maybe that's my future if podcasting doesn't work out.
Or it's a rom-com. It's like I hate you.
Yeah,
I love you.
That's right.
There's your one movie. Write the script, get an Oscar, and bail out.
There it is.
You're good to go.
We spoke off air about the Joe Brady move, putting an emphasis on offense. But was offense really the problem? I mean, the only problems on offense were a lack of pieces. That falls more on the front office than the coaching staff. The coaching staff seems to do with what they could, or do what they could with what they had. I mean, I feel like the defense was more of a concern. They fought, but again, they fought probably because they believed in what Sean McDermott was selling. So this almost signals more of a future problem with the defense.
Well, here's the thing. The defense was the last like 2-3 years. The defense has been beat up. It just seems once they get to a certain point in the season, the wheels fall off and they're fighting for their lives. But they're always in the games. That's the thing. They're always in the games. The defense isn't pretty, but they do enough. They'll get they'll force a fourth down. Like they're in it. But here's the thing. If you're the offensive coordinator, shouldn't you say, hey, this is my offense. This is what I need to run it. I need pieces that can run it. Like you should have some voice. Yeah. It shouldn't be, okay, well, you gave me a bunch of square pegs in round holes. I'll make it work. And you're sitting there with sandpaper trying to round them out. Like that's like you've got to sit there and say, okay, you've got to get this offense working. Like the tight ends should have been a little more a little more involved in the offense. They've got good tight ends. It just seems like the tight ends became a forgotten part of this offense. It just seemed like it was Josh, and he can either throw it or he's running. And sometimes it looked like he was ready to run before he threw. Keon Coleman, I thought the kid was going to be good, but just inconsistent. Maybe that's what he's going to end up being. But no, if you're an OC, you got to speak up. You're like, hey, I can't run this offense with what we've got here. Like, let's figure some things out. You got to change something.
Yeah, Coleman is like that. The meme with that Pablo Escobar-looking character sitting alone on the swing set and in the rainstorm.
Just looking like, don't forget about me.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Can I have the ball?
And this could end up being a situation where maybe another year or two, they let him go. He moves on and he signs somewhere and becomes a star. Maybe Buffalo just
Mhm.
isn't it for him. Who knows? But this offense, I think maybe you've got to find a second back for James Cook. Go to a two back kind of set, and let James be more of a receiving back. Get you, maybe a harder hitter, a banger kind of guy, running back. Get your tight ends involved. Maybe kick the wheels. Maybe Atlanta will let Kyle Pitts go. Kyle Pitts, I think, would be great in that offense. Stretches the field.
Buffalo will be ready to challenge the Rams as tight end you in that scenario.
Hey, if that'll give Buffalo one more win, because they should have beat Denver. Like, let's be real. They should have beaten Denver. So
Yeah.
let's say Kyle Pitts is there and Kyle Pitts has got his head right. Come on now. That something would have happened.
As always, there's a crop of teams that take a chance on first-year head coaches, and we have three of them thus far. First of all, Baltimore. Now, this one surprised me a little bit. I would have figured with the Lamar Jackson situation, you would want an established head coach, someone that could kind of lay down the law or kind of put a firm culture in place of how to move forward and get over the hump. But they go with a fresh face in Jesse Minner. Chargers were the fifth-ranked defense in the league this season. What do you think about this one? Obviously, we spent quite a bit of time this season trashing the Ravens defense.
Marlon Humphreys, baby. Greatest quarterback to ever play the game. All right, so here we go. From a defensive standpoint, yes, maybe this guy can fix the problem. Like, there were points where Baltimore's defense kind of looked like they were turning the corner and they were going to do something, and then yet again, you'd get players like Marlon Humphreys giving up deep balls, and it just seemed like it just wasn't there.
Yeah, well,
Now,
the Packers game where Malik Willis was laying them up down the field.
yeah, you thought Malik Willis had been a three-time Super Bowl champion and just decided, okay, here we go. Like, no, yeah. The question is will this guy actually speak up for himself and
Yeah.
tell Lamar this is how it is, or is he going to be a rah-rah Lamar guy and Lamar gets to do whatever he wants and this team may be better defensively, but offensively is still the same thing?
I mean, do you think it's a situation where Lamar told ownership and management, like, hire somebody who doesn't have an ego because it's my team and I rule the roost?
Well, here's the thing: the owner said, "Hey, I'm going to pick the guy, and and if Lamar wants input, then he needs to be here for these interviews. Like, Lamar needs to be a part of this." Because here's the deal: they've got to figure out what they're doing with Lamar. Lamar's got a 72 million cap hit coming up. Like, they've got to either extend him or possibly say, you know what, it's time to go. Like, they've got to figure this out because this man's eating up a ton of money.
Yeah.
So hopefully, Lamar can sit there and say, you know what, we need to win this year. We've got the pieces. I will do whatever you want me to do. Just please let this defense stop a nosebleed every once in a while and let me do what I do. Because in a couple of years, the wheels are going to fall off Lamar too. Lamar's not going to be able to run around and do this either. Like him and Josh and Patty Mahomes, these guys are starting to get to that point now where you're not going to be able to get the get up and go anymore.
And there's question marks with the offense too, because our next coaching opening to talk about directly affects the Ravens in this scenario because now the Ravens have to find a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah. So what is this team going to be? Because are you going to be a run first kind of team and let Lamar work off of that, or are you just going to throw it all out on spread everybody out and say, Lamar, do your thing? First of all, is Isaiah likely going to do his thing? Is he going to show up consistently? That's important. Mark Andrews has been, Lamar's guy forever, but there's a point where, whispers where, was he going to get traded this year? Does he still got it? Zay Flowers, again, sometimes disappears. So
Sometimes, yes.
yeah, I try to be nice here. I'm trying to be nice, but the question is, this offense has pieces, but can they be consistent? And then the defense, there are times they show up and look like world beaters. Other times They look like they can't stop a nosebleed. They're their own worst enemy.
Yeah. A franchise that also is very much their own worst enemies, the Cleveland Browns, and
What a hunk of
they
junk.
bring in they bring in Todd Monken, and this doesn't feel like it has the juice to it. I mean, was Todd Monken the only candidate that was not willing to tell the Browns, no, you are a dumpster fire. I don't want to coach here.
No, his essay was the best out of everybody's.
That's right. The essays, like
Be,
they're hiring head coaches like fifth graders.
yes. So to interview for the Cleveland, now mind you, they should have made it. They just should have put it on LinkedIn and let everybody apply. Because
Yeah.
you had to write an essay, and then they did like a personality test or something. So you're telling me Todd Monken scored the highest out of everybody? No. You know what it came down to? That ownership is a hot mess. God bless Shador. I think the kid could be decent in the right spot. He's gonna get thrown under the bus if they go start off 1-3, 1-4. It's a hot mess. This whole team. It's sad. But no, Todd Monken's the guy. He's gonna turn it around.
Yeah. Seems like a intentional hiring to not have any fanfare.
Kevin Stefanski couldn't do it, but Todd Munkin can. So there we go. So I don't, and maybe he can. Maybe he's ready. I think he's a little old. He's one of the older new hire guys. I think the odds are not in his favor, but we'll see what happens. But they got to be able to run the ball. They're going to be a run first team, and they've got to see what they got in Shador. And if not, I don't know. I don't know where you go because I don't think Dylan Gabriel is your guy either. Are you going to go back to Dylan Gabriel? I know there's no way on God's beautiful green earth you're bringing in the masseuse.
Maybe this is just a way to kick the can down the road until that contract's gone, and that by that point they can say, "Well, we tried with Shador, it didn't work. Fresh start," and then they can screw up another quarterback in the draft.
Because the problem is they've got a great defense, and that defense is just going to waste. It's
Yeah,
going to waste. It's horrible. They're losing games like 15-13. Like really, like it's bad. Like something has to give. So they got to open up the wallets there in Cleveland, start spending some money, and give this fan base something. Because if not, it's just going to be the same thing next year.
yeah. I feel bad for Todd Monken. You go from Lamar Jackson to this disaster.
And we've talked about it. Like guys who are desperate because they want to be a head coach so bad they'll take whatever job. No, man, like you can't do that. You've got to look at it and be like, no, like this is a bad situation. You're setting yourself up for failure. And then if they can you after 2 years, where are you gonna go?
I guess the silver lining in that kind of comparison would be we said the same thing about Kellen Moore last year, and the Saints were pretty bad this past season, but they had more bright spots than we probably thought they would have had.
Oh, they definitely won more games than we thought. I was shocked. But you know what? I think it was a situation where Moore walked in, and they were like, "We know we're bad, so let's just see what we've got because we finally have to let the cap stuff hit instead of putting band-aids on contracts for the 20 years they did that during Drew Brees' heyday." Um, so the Saints, I think they knew, and they're like, "Okay, let's just see what happens." Cleveland, they live in delusional grandeur that they think that they're a playoff team. Their defense is a playoff team itself. That offense is
Yeah,
a hot mess. So they have to figure this out.
yeah. Like we joked, you take Cincy's offense and Cleveland's defense, and you get a 9-win team.
Seriously, dude, right there. That's a Super Bowl team right there. Sheesh.
Another hiring with not a lot of fanfare was the Miami Dolphins. They went with Jeff Hafley, a relatively unknown Jeff Hafley, DC of the Packers. And I mean, the Packers defense was okay this year. I mean, it was a little better with Micah Parsons, and the Dolphins defense was a bit of a sieve in its own right. So, I mean, I guess it solves a problem. But he must have interviewed great because I don't think anyone had Jeff Hafley on their bingo card.
You know, maybe his essay was great. Maybe he got a couple gold stars. No, hey, sometimes you find the diamond in the rough, and yeah, like you said, the Packers defense was solid. It was definitely better with Parsons on the field, But maybe this guy said, you know what, I'm tired of this LaFleur, Jordan Love mess because it just seemed like, it just seems like something's going to fall apart. I don't trust Green Bay as far as I can throw them. But this guy, has put up a good defense. The issue that he's going to have to deal with is, I guess, if they feel Quentin Ewers is the quarterback future. If not, it's going to be interesting to see because I think if they can ship Tua off once the Super Bowl's over and the new season, the new year starts, league year starts, they're probably going to look to ship him off. So are they just going to work with Quentin Ewers and see what they've got? They're definitely going to run, Etienne into the ground because I don't know, what the passing game is going to be, but we could be surprised. So Miami's looking to change things up, change the culture. So sometimes you bring in an unknown, and it works.
Tua's in the Kyler Murray camp.
Good Lord. Yeah. 5'8" and under. Woo woo. There you go.
So what would the best strategy for Jeff Halfley be here? To ride it out with Quinn Ewers and build up the rest of this team, or go all in, find the best quarterback you can, and then just do whatever to build up the little pieces around him and hope you get somewhat of a competitive product?
Well, Quinn Ewers played he played decent this year. He had some definite, bright spots. So you never know. He could be good. He could be solid. Like do you want this team to have the defensive identity and to, let your defense lead the show? I
Hmm.
think they definitely have to fix some things on defense. They get a pass rush. They've got some pieces there. So I think you see what you've got with Quinn Ewers. You're not going to waste a draft. I don't think you can really afford to, waste a draft pick on a quarterback this year. I think next year, if things fall apart and you're high enough, next year's quarterback class I think is better. So I think you do that and just see what you got. Like literally lay the foundation. I think teams bring in a new guy and just think, oh yeah, overnight they're gonna fix everything and they're gonna be 10-7 and knocking on the door. Like it just doesn't work that way. Sometimes you just gotta suck. Like Pittsburgh
Yeah.
should follow this rule. Just suck for 1 year, and then you can get
Yeah.
yourself a quarterback. Like 9-8 is not the way to go. No one cares about 9-8. So I think that's what Miami should do. See what your pieces are, and you might be surprised. But if not, because you still got to figure out what you're doing with Tyreek Hill. There's still some pieces
Yeah.
that are unknown. So let Ewers do his thing, and who knows, could be the guy.
Yeah. And next to next year's quarterback class, it could have Dante Moore right at the top because he said, "I do not want to be a Jet," and decided to go
Yeah,
back to Oregon.
like we know that's exactly what he meant. I don't care what he says. He looked at that and said, it's like watching A Christmas Story. That scene with Ralphie helping his dad change the tire, and his dad hits the bolts out of his hand, and he goes, "Oh fudge." That's what he said when he was like, "I'm going to be the number two." Yeah, nope. He said, "I'll go back to Oregon. I'll wear my funky uniforms and helmets." Nope. He said, "I'll make more playing. I'll make more playing in freaking Eugene, Oregon. I'm good. Give me another year."
Yeah. We're all about second chances in the NFL, and we'll clump these two together because one of these situations started well and ended very sourly, and the other one I think was probably safe to say was sour for the entire duration. Kevin Stefanski rebirth in Atlanta with defense that's got some pieces, but not the greatest quarterback situation. And then Robert Sala after a pretty resurgent year leading the MASH unit of San Francisco, resurgence in Tennessee. And this is kind of the exact opposite. They've got a quarterback and they don't have anything else.
I think Salah learned from the disaster in New York, and I think it's gonna. I think the second time around is going to be better. He's got a quarterback. I think Tennessee is licking its wounds after watching Mike Vrabel his first year in New England go to the Super Bowl. So they're sitting there
Yeah.
saying, "Yeah," they're like, "Yeah, we messed up a little bit." So I think
Yeah.
what they do is do whatever they can for Salah to kind of get this roster, decent. They've got pieces on defense. Their defense isn't horrible. They've got some decent pieces on defense. So I think Saleh will go in, learn from the mistakes of the Jets job, and be able to. It's going to take a couple years, but I think there'll be a strong defense, stronger defensive team, and the offense I think will lag a little bit, but I think you'll see some points scored there. They'll get better. Atlanta, where the players play, huh? Well, here we go. Once
Hey,
they hired, yeah,
Matt Ryan understood the assignment there. He understood the assignment.
yeah, he did. Not a lot of Atlanta fans were happy with the guy. They were all, some people in Atlanta were thinking, why not Deion Sanders? Maybe something else. Um, People feel that maybe the ownership doesn't know their fan base, what they want. Stefanski, I give him credit for what he tried to do in Cleveland. His big mistake, and I'm gonna maybe this is the homer in me, but I don't think you get rid of Baker Mayfield. I think he should have spoke up for him and said, "Hey, this guy got us our lone playoff win in how many years, and you guys want to
Yeah.
dump him, and you bring me the masseuse, and I'm sitting here in purgatory, and I can't do anything." So now he's got weapons. But the problem is you don't know what your quarterback situation is. So it's almost like it's the same thing, except it's just Atlanta with some other more shinier pieces around.
Yeah.
We don't know what he's going to be after this injury. He's got the injury history, so he's going to have to bounce back. And you still got Kirk Cousins, a year older Kirk Cousins. So plus you've got some
Not,
guys.
not
Yeah,
ideal.
no, you've got some pieces on free agent. Kyle Pitts, who knows if he wants to come back? He may decide to hit the road. Someone's going to offer him some money. Someone's going to overpay for Kyle Pitts. He's got talent. It's just if he can just get into the right spot. Tyler Algier, I'm sure he's going to want to start or get paid a little more. So there's some stuff there. The defense really was better than what people expected. But the question is who's your quarterback?
Yeah, that's like you said, it's a big kind of mini comparison to Cleveland to go from one situation to the exact same situation. Maybe the ownership's not as big a dumpster fire. Maybe the surrounding weapons are significantly better. The defense might be a little worse, but still comparable. But you still have the biggest question mark.
Yeah, yeah, Kirk Cousins is better than what you have in Cleveland now. You can say that. If you were to move Kirk Cousins to Cleveland, he would start week one. But the
Mhm.
question sits there and says, Kurt's going to play good soldier, but is he going to sit there and say, if he ends up being the number two, does he want to do that, or does he want a chance for one more chance at glory? Like who? And then is Penix going to be 100% throughout the season? Because at this point now, the guy is fragile. He's fragile as an egg.
Yeah. That is
Um,
that is and that is funny with Tennessee. I mean, this is the ultimate regretful decision with Vrabel. Like, did you have to fire Mike Vrabel? Did you really have to fire Mike Vrabel? And this is what you
like
have to watch now.
like think about it. Tennessee, a couple of years ago, draft night, you send AJ Brown on his way. You trade him, and gets himself a Super Bowl. You tell Mike Vrabel, you've done great things here, but you know what? We're done with you. He says, all right. Boom, goes New England first year. Boom, Super Bowl. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe you have to go to Tennessee to pay some penance and then they get rid of you and you
Yeah,
find success. I have no idea.
yeah. I don't know what the Titans did to deserve a new stadium, but it certainly wasn't. It didn't have anything to do with what was playing on said field.
Nope, nope. Someone owns some land. Someone got a good deal. I have no clue, but hopefully Salah can sit there and say, okay, like I said, learn from his mistakes and kind of rebuild this because there was a time when Tennessee was a solid franchise.
Yes, they were. Much to my own chagrin, but I don't hate them as much as the Patriots. There's that. Um, those are our second chances. We do have a third chance because Mike McCarthy's back into the land of steel. I feel like, I don't know, I just kind of felt like the Steelers were going to go in a different direction because they're always have gone with, in the last 60 years, the three coaches, all three of them, it was their first job. So I kind of figured that that would be consistent, that the Rooney's would pull the diamond in the rough. They wouldn't be going for the established face to change the culture because it's another situation. Like you said earlier, they don't have a quarterback.
I don't know. Maybe they just decided. Maybe they felt okay. Maybe if we bring in McCarthy, maybe Rodgers stays one more year. Maybe McCarthy can get the last bit of juice out of him and then go on a run. But here's the deal: if you go that route, how many games do you really win? You have an aging
Well,
defense. You have an aging defense. You've got some pieces on the offense. It's not devoid of talent, but it's not high octane. You're not going to get Aaron Rodgers, of the early 2000s or whatever. So
yeah.
what are you, a 9-win team, maybe 10? So you're in the same spot again as you were with Mike Tomlin for the last 10 years, 10 plus years, or whatever. And so your draft is going to be horrible. You're not going to be able to get a good quarterback. So I don't know. I don't know why. Like I like McCarthy. I don't think he's a bad coach, but I think, like you said, you get a young guy in there, and if it falls apart, fine. It falls apart. You give him one more year, but at least you can get your future quarterback. I guess Will Howard's going to be the guy.
Yeah. McCarthy to me is the guy you bring in when you're kind of ready to go. And all you need is a fresh voice in the locker room, but the team more or less is in a position to win. That it doesn't feel like the rebuilding guy. And to your point on Rodgers, they hate each other. I mean, I would think that the McCarthy move would signal Aaron Rodgers is on his way out the door.
Who knows? Maybe Aaron came, while Aaron was in the dark, he forgave him, and they're going to be okay. Because Aaron's been a good trooper and such, so we'll see what happens. We don't even know if he's going to come back. He may just say, "All right, I'm done." But McCarthy had 3 straight 12-win seasons with the Cowboys, and then the Cowboys told him to kick rocks. So maybe he can get 11 wins. Who knows? That North Division is a hot mess. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah. Baltimore's a big question mark now, and Cincinnati, and then, well, the Browns we just leave on the side and kind of,
There you go. 10 and
come
7
on,
could win that
do
bad boy.
something.
10 and 7
Yeah.
did. Please move. Didn't you used to do something?
Yeah.
Unreal.
And we've got an interesting situation in Sin City. The Raiders can't make this easy. They've got two guys that have accepted jobs elsewhere only if the Raiders job doesn't come through. You've got Brian Daboll, the Titans OC, if the Raiders don't hire him, and Mike McDaniel, the Chargers OC, if the Raiders don't hire him.
It's like you've got like 3 girls on hold for prom. If the first girl you ask says no, you go to the next girl. If she says no, then the number 3 is up and waiting. Like what franchise does this? Like I don't get it. You figured with Tom Brady in the house somewhat, they'd say, okay, let's kind of figure this out. Like he'd say, let's just get a coach or something because we know who we're taking at number 1, the worst kept secret in America, and you want this kid to succeed, But unfortunately, the Raiders are like, hey, let's just see what happens. Let's just wait till you would think you'd want a coach in house now, especially with like the Senior Bowl going on and stuff. Like
Yeah.
you've got 3.5 weeks before the combine. Don't be like the Jets who fired all their staff and have nobody, and who knows what they're gonna do. Get yourself a head guy and go from there. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I
To,
don't know.
to your point, you think they would not want this to linger because Fernando Mendoza is as sure a thing as possible in the draft. You've got Gentry coming off a pretty solid rookie year, despite the disaster that they were. Max Crosby's
Mhm.
pissed off. You'd think you'd want to establish some kind of leadership there soon, so he doesn't get pissed off again.
The
It
only
doesn't really make sense to drag this out.
the only thing I can think of is they want like Clint Kubiak from Seattle, and maybe Seattle said, okay, you can't interview till after everything is said and
The
done.
Super Bowl.
Super.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it, or maybe they've had a secret meeting and he's already accepted, and you just got to wait. I don't know, But that's the only thing I can think because there's nobody else out there. Who else? Who else you gonna get to coach this thing?
We'll bookmark this in case you just called your shot again. This
If
time in a
that
more
happens,
positive light, a coach getting hired instead of
I'm
fired.
giving I'm giving jobs now. I'm giving jobs. I'm not taking away. I'm giving jobs.
And sadly, although no surprise, the one job out there that has not been named, the Arizona Cardinals. Who wants this? We jumped on Cleveland enough, but this is kind of the same situation, maybe even worse.
I don't know. The only real issue I think is the quarterback situation. Like if unless they're going to force you to take Kyler Murray and have to use him, go with him another year. Maybe that's the issue. I don't know, but they've got parts on. They've got offensive pieces. They can score points. Freaking Jacoby Brissett was scoring points with them. Wasn't like they were
Yeah,
horrible. Their defense is decent. It's a middle tier kind of defense. So it's not. I don't know why they haven't found anybody to take this job unless it's really the Kyler situation. Unless someone's like, I don't want to deal with him. Unless you're going to ship him out, I don't want this.
the Kyler situation really makes me feel for Cardinals fans because Kyler's talent is there. I mean, there is really no reason why the team that's assembled, Kyler couldn't do something. They couldn't do something with Kyler.
I don't know, man.
True
Maybe
tragedy.
yeah, but don't forget, it all started with the Call of Duty fiasco. They literally had to, write a new, in the contract, like don't play video games and let's get your head right. And yeah, like maybe he's just not a leader type guy. Maybe he just wants to play and that's it. Go home. I did my thing and that's it. Maybe he's just not that kind of guy. And I think maybe stories will come out later on about how maybe some players maybe didn't like him. Who knows? But I think you have to move on from Kyler. I think it's run its course. Do your thing and move on. But you've got to find somebody to coach this team.
Kyler Murray for Tyreek Hill, straight up. Let's go.
Oh Lord, jeez Louise. Good gosh, that's horrible. You know what? If now, mind you, Tyreek's probably going to be a tad bit slower, but why not? Why not? I would get yourself a middle. Bring in Aaron Rodgers for a year if he leaves. Just throw somebody in there. There's somebody out there who could, do something. But keep Jacoby Brissett for a year. There you go. He can sling it.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk about the placeholder quarterbacks like Quinn Ewers. There's no reason why Arizona can't have a placeholder anyway. They got what, the third pick, the fourth pick, whatever it is. Beef up that defense, fix the offensive line, whatever the case may be.
Either that or just let it all bottom out. And there you go. Get your number one, number two pick. Get your guy next year, and there you are. You're on your way.
Well, Bucks VA, the carousel is nearly complete. So take us off air with your thoughts as where the next phase of NFL coaches rests.
Who knows, man? I'll tell you, man. Some teams got on the ball. Give a shout out to the Giants. They said, you know what? We know who our guy is. We got to get him. Other teams, make you, build Lego sets and make you take IQ tests and still can't figure it out, Cleveland. But hey, this is the beginning of the off season for the NFL. We enjoy this stuff. Our teams may not be in the Super Bowl, but there's plenty of laughs to go around.